So, Ayush, thank you so much for agreeing to be on my podcast. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to chat to you today.
Awesome. Thank you, Ross, for having me. It's a privilege, and I'm really excited to be talking to you. Looking
So,
forward to it.
yeah, I'm sure we're going to cover some really interesting ground. So, I was listening to another podcast with you that you actually sent to me, and one of the things that I took away, the biggest thing that fascinated me, is your morning routine. Could you kick us off just by telling? I'm sure it's changed a bit since then, but could you just tell
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
everyone about your morning routine?
yeah, for sure. So I'm a very uh, I'm big into journaling, and so I'm a writer basically, writer, creator, copywriter. So I'm big into journaling and reflection and meditation. So I think my journaling habit is, as they say, my keystone habit. So every day I start off by journaling, like 15-20 minutes of free morning pages. Just get everything out onto the page, whatever out onto the screen, whatever is there in my mind. Uh, and then I do some meditation for 10 minutes or so. More mindfulness meditation, not very complex, not very complicated. uh, then I go out I go out for a walk for about 30, 40, 45 minutes or so. Again, walking is again a very therapeutic, meditative experience for me. I really enjoy it. I get to think. I listen to a lot of podcasts and audiobooks while I'm on my walk, and I get to think. I get some great ideas there. So yeah, I really enjoy that activity. And then I do some yoga. Right, I'm into yoga, and that's is good for the body as well as the mind. That's what I love about yoga. This is one of those things that the first like couple of hours after I wake up is me time. Like it's about me getting my like mind and body on track to get ready for the day, and like get the day started on the right note. uh, and I found that to work really well for me. Uh, I have a lot of energy, both mentally and physically, throughout the day. When I do perform my morning routine, do all my 4 or 5 habits every day. But on the days where I miss them out, I usually like low energy days where I get tired, or I get cranky, I get frustrated or irritated. So yeah, I found this morning routine to really work really well for me.
That's quite something, eh? And I mean, if you working like, let's just recap and like backtrack. So you said you do some journaling, some meditation, you go for a walk, and then you do some yoga. Now I'm thinking from the
Yes.
perspective of a guy that has a full-time job where I have to be in the office at
Yep.
8. Where the heck do you get all the time from this? When do you actually start
Yeah,
work?
yeah, that's really hard, right? So I can actually, this is one of the reasons I quit my job. Because I wasn't getting enough time for me myself, and with my family, and so apart from many reasons. So yeah, I usually start my day at around 9:30, 10 a.m. In the morning, like after breakfast and everything. And I usually end my days at around 7ish, 7:30. Sometimes I have like calls late in the night because some of my clients are in the US or Europe, like in the West, and I'm in India, on the east, in the Eastern Hemisphere. I have some late night calls. Sometimes I have early morning calls at like 6:30. But apart from that, like yeah, 10 to 7 or 10 to 6 is what I target my work day to be. Which is I think is more than enough. Like 8 to 9 hours a day is more than enough that anybody needs should have to spend on work. And by the way, like in the middle of the day, I take a light break for lunch, and I even take like a 15, 20, 30 minute power nap in the afternoon. Again, like mental health and relaxation is very important. And when you're working for a full-time job, 9-10 hours a day, often like 11 hours a day, it can get really really hard to do anything for yourself, anything for your mental health, for your physical health. That can be really hard.
Yeah.
It's not healthy.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I can really empathize with that feeling of getting back home from a hard day of work and you just feel so tired. Whereas just
Yes.
like talking about remotely, not even being a solopreneur or creator like you, where
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you just have so much more energy because you're at home and you can take longer breaks and stuff.
Yes.
So
Yes.
before we talk
Yes.
about being a solopreneur and a creator, I'd
Yeah.
love to
Yeah.
just give the audience a bit of context about what you were doing before you quit your job. So what were you doing before you quit your
Yes.
job?
Sure. So for 11 years, I was a software engineer. I graduated from college in 2010. And then I worked for two companies and as a coder, and then basically rose in the ranks from a junior developer to a senior developer to a staff engineer, to sort of like an engineering manager sort of a role. I was about to, by the time I quit in 2011, and I realized that in the initial few years I really loved coding, and I loved software development as a principle, and as a skill. I was really good at it. But the more I grew up in the organization, the more I had to manage, quote unquote, manage other junior employees and junior engineers, and my job became less and less about the actual coding, and I basically fell out of love with coding, I gradually started hating what I was doing. There was nothing wrong with anything. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't forced to do anything wrong. It was a job that everybody around me was doing. Right? That is how it's supposed to be. That's just the career track that exists everywhere. But it had stopped becoming fulfilling for a few years continuously. And then I was making good money, of course, that I'll always be grateful for it. But then again, there was this constant, there's lack of freedom in terms of time, just as you spoke, right? Lack of freedom in terms of like creative output, like what work you do. You don't, you're not like free creatively. And lack of financial freedom as well. So I realized that all of my eggs were in one basket. All of my income was, when we speak of like we speak to financial gurus. They talk about diversify your investments, but like nobody talks about diversifying your income, right? Your income is coming from a single source, which is so risky. Like in a bad day, on a rainy day, in a recession, anybody can fire you. So I realized that I did not have financial freedom. I did not have freedom of income, or freedom of freedom of time, and I did not even have freedom to do the work that I wanted to do. So that craving for that freedom became the thing for me, that pushed me to like eventually like quit my job in last year, almost a year now, to August 2021, when I quit my job and started working for myself, became a solopreneur, like freelancing, consulting, building my own products, and trying out different experiments to figure out like what works, what doesn't work. And yeah, 11 months in, it's going all right. It's not going great, but it's not too bad as well.
Yeah, so you said you're about 11 months in. What do you actually, sorry, let me backtrack there. I want to keep that question for later because I think it's going to
Sure.
unpack quite a lot. What were people's like initial reaction when you decided to quit your job? I mean, when you told your family, your friends, I'm assuming you're married. Um,
Yeah.
what were their reaction? Tell me about that.
So so of course my parents didn't understand like the reason. Like, why would you have a nice job that pays you really well, like why would you want to quit it, right? And my wife of course understood, and she has a full-time job, and she has been very supportive, so she understood it. And she has been like supporting me throughout like last 3-4 years since I have like begun my creator journey. But yeah, I took some time to like explain to parents, and they got on board quickly. I explained it to friends, like school friends, college friends, and they were all very surprised. First, they were surprised. They asked me. I wrote like a long document explaining my move, my decision, about why I was doing it, what were my plans, how, and they read the document and they were surprised, but they were very supportive, and they said that, this is so great that you're able to do this. Like they said that even we want to do it, but we don't have the courage or the resources to pull it off right now. So maybe one day we'll like to do it. But right now you're doing this, you're setting an example for us. This is amazing, and like all the best. So yeah, everybody came around eventually, and it was quite a great time, right? From July, when I gave my resignation, to August. That 6 week period was very, very interesting, and very, a sense of relief came in, and a sense of freedom came in, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you refer to that document, did you just write out a Word document, and then whenever your friends asked you like, "Man, what the heck are you doing?" Did you just send them that document?
Yes, I did write a Notion document, actually,
Oh,
and
wow.
I had like bullet points, like why I was doing it, like uh, uh, why what am I doing, why am I doing it, what are my plans for the future, how am I going to pull it off, sure, right? That eventually, like, I put it out in public. Eventually, when I did quit it, I posted it on my blog post, on my blog, as a blog post as well. And people loved it. So that
Mm.
there's a Twitter thread on my Twitter profile. It's my pinned thread, and with that thread, accompanying that thread, is a blog post, where I explain my process and my plan. And like both those pieces of writing have brought in so much of love and support and friends from around the world, because this idea, this big move that I'm taking, that I took, is so relatable from people from across cultures, across countries. From around the world have messaged me and said that, we that like many of them are my friends now, and they already made the move, and many of them are in the process of doing it. So yeah, it's just that. Uh, uh, it's a feeling or an act which is very, irrespective of your location, or your work, or whatever you do. You can relate to it.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. so
Yeah.
so
So
yeah,
I've
it's there on
I've
my
read that.
blog.
Yeah, no, I've read that blog, and it's really helpful. And I want to say to anyone listening that if you're thinking of quitting your job, you should absolutely read that blog first, because when you point out some really helpful things, like there's an entire section on this is why you should not quit your job, and these are things you should think of.
Yes,
And I think that's really helpful,
yes,
because I think
yes,
it's great that you took it from both perspectives. So I had a
yes,
thought the other day. Like, I think one of the reasons, I think the biggest reason that people get frustrated at their jobs is a lack of freedom. I'm not sure if you'd agree
for
with
sure,
that, but do you
for sure.
do you think you would still have quit your job if your company, you were working at Samsung, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
had
right.
given you more freedom? If they had said, okay, Ayush, you can go work from home. We don't care about the hours you keep. You can
Right.
take as much leave as you want. You have freedom. We
Yes.
just trust that you're going to do your job. Do you think you still would have quit your job?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I probably would still have quit my job, just for, uh, uh, just because it was 11 years in, and I felt like, I needed a change, and because, there's one more thing. What happens in the corporate culture is that, you start playing office politics, right? And you start playing games within the organization, to grow. Corporate culture is very zero sum, right? If I have to get promoted, somebody else cannot get promoted, right? If I have to move forward, somebody else should not be able to move forward. And that's a very negative feeling and a negative vibe to live with every day, every day, every week, uh, which I really hated. And I knew that I cannot change that, and I knew that nobody can change that. Right? I realized that this is a problem with every big company. This is a problem with every, large organization. As you said, so I work for Samsung. Samsung Electronics as an Android developer, and it was such a large company. I was playing a tiny role in a huge company, right? So it just the dynamics of the corporate structure are such that you cannot change the way people behave uh, in those scenarios. So that was something that which just told me that I'm not fit to work for anybody, right? In that sense, that I can only work for really small teams or really small startups with like 5 people, 7 people, 10 people, or like work for myself alone. But I cannot work for a 5,000 people company. So I probably would have quit anyways.
Okay, that makes sense, and I think I resonate with that as well. Also
Yes,
being in I'm also, funnily enough, I'm also a manager of a team in a somewhat corporate company. It's a lot
awesome,
smaller than Samsung,
awesome,
and I'm also
sure,
a programmer. So I think we have a lot in common. So we've
right,
been talking about this word solopreneur and creator. Could
yes,
you please shed some
yes.
light on what that is for people listening?
So yeah, it's simple. Anybody who creates anything is a creator. Everybody is a creator. Uh, Most solopreneur is basically an entrepreneur who works for themselves, right? It's funny. Very early on, when I had just started, sometime last year, somebody had told me that you are not an entrepreneur; you're just a freelancer.
Mm.
Right, and I was like, sure, man, I'm not doing any of this for the labels, right? If I wanted the labels, I would have kept playing the corporate game, and I'm fine being called a freelancer. The idea, the operative word here is solo. That like one person, not with a goal of building a very large company, not having a goal of having many employees under you, and bootstrapping mostly. Like even if you run your own business, you have your own SaaS company, or you have your own content products. Even in that sense, you're working alone, and you're not going outside for funding. You're self-funding everything, and that essentially is a solopreneur for me. Uh, and I would say that uh, there is a there's a sliding scale of multiple income streams that you have. So there are like probably service businesses that you're doing as a freelancer or a consultant. Then you'll probably have products, right? You might have software products. You might have information knowledge products. You might do some coaching, or you might do you might have a community of like-minded people that you run. So there is like multiple small income streams that add up to an income, rather than having like one big project. So like an average regular entrepreneur would have like one big business that they work on, or one founder of a startup will have like one startup that they focus on for a decade. Right, solopreneur would probably diversify their income streams, just for like risk aversion,
Mm.
and having optionality,
Yeah, so I
instead
think
of going big on one. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, you've mentioned this a few times, the whole idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket, and I think that's very important. I think COVID really woke up a lot of people in terms of having all your eggs in one basket with having one job, and a lot of people lost their jobs.
exactly.
And I think
Yes,
almost kind of shed a light on reality and the dangers of having just one job or just one form of income. I mean, even solopreneurs that had only one form of income that was affected by COVID, I think they were also quite scared into action quite a bit.
yes,
So
yes, yes, yes,
you've
yes.
got quite a few products and forms of
Yeah, yeah,
revenue. Could you tell us a bit about that? Your different revenue streams and
yeah. Sure. Sure. So I do. So in terms of services, I do. I'm a product consultant. I'm a product manager, basically. Software. Like I was 10, 11 years into software role, software engineer, senior software engineer, engineering manager. Eventually, that graduation was to become a product manager. So instead of like becoming an official quote unquote official product manager, I became a product consultant, where I consult with early stage startups on like going from zero to one, and I do basically people who can't hire a full time product manager. Like I do product management duties for them. So that's service work. I'm a Twitter ghostwriter. This was something that happened by accident to me. I was very writing a lot on Twitter sometime last year, and somebody reached out to me to write for them, and they'll pay me, which was strange. But it was fun, and I quickly realized that this was a cash cow. Like I could make good money from this, because very busy people, domain expert, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs don't have the time to sit and write on Twitter, and create content to grow their audience. Uh, Plus, they don't have the expertise to do it as well.
So
But like I
could you
have
tell
been
me
practicing. Yeah,
could you tell me a bit more about that? Like okay, let's say I'm an entrepreneur or founder and I want Ayush
yeah, yeah,
to ghostwrite for me. What's
yeah.
the process look like? What type of information do I need to give you, or do you have to do a lot of research on
Yes.
your side?
Yes, so both. So I have a process where I get on a call with my clients every week, talk to them about things, like ask what first, like I get some background on their work, their niche, what they want to talk about, the areas they want to build their audience in. I ask about their favorite books, their favorite podcasts or videos that they enjoy a lot, and then I start basically. I Everybody has a personal brand, but not everybody expresses that personal brand online. Is
Mm.
how I think about it. Basically, when your personality is displayed online, on the internet, either on Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, on a podcast, that personality, when it comes online, is called a personal brand. Is how I like to think about it. So basically, so my idea is to get to the personality of the person, who that person is, understand their voice, like how they talk, how they write, how they think, and then basically write content for their personality, that can bring their personal brand out into the public, in front of like millions of people, and then eventually get a lot of followers for them, which again it gives them credibility, gives them options to reach out, and like build bigger businesses, and have uh, a lot of social capital that comes with a large Twitter following. So yeah, that's my process basically.
Okay, that makes sense. So I mean, we've got product management, ghostwriter, and then what else is on the radar
Yeah.
of Ayush?
Yeah. So product management and ghostwriting. I also used to do freelance writing, where I'll write blog posts for people. I reduced that a lot, not doing that anymore. But I do know, like I have that skill. I can go back to it.
Mm.
I also did like freelance copywriting, like SaaS copywriting, writing copy for landing pages, high converting copywriting for product pages, like Shopify product pages, or Shopify app descriptions, and stuff like that. That's again like SaaS copywriting. Uh, I used to do that a lot as well, as a freelance copywriter. So these are all like income streams, service businesses, where the cash flow is good, but you're essentially selling your time. You're essentially renting out your time. You don't have any leverage.
Mm.
Right. The more you work, the more money you make. The moment you stop working, you stop making money. uh, that's when like I started. I got the idea of building info products, right? Because I'm a writer, and I am an ex software engineer. I did not want to code, so I did not want to have a software product. Uh, but I thought that I'm a writer. I can make info products, right? I'm good at curation. I can make curation based products, and creation based products. So that with products comes leverage, but they are hard to monetize initially. Initially, it's really hard to get revenue from a product, but eventually with time it gives you a ton of leverage, where you just have to build it once and sell twice, right? Jack Butcher's famous quote on his course is, build once, sell twice. So I
Mm.
started adding products to my portfolio as well, so that's what I try to do. So right now I think I have 8 or 9 info products at this point, uh, but I'm going to add more and more, add a lot more info products to my portfolio. So basically, having multiple uh, avenues of income coming in is my goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So, you on Twitter a while ago, I saw you announce your 25 in 25 challenge. Could you
Yes.
could you tell me a bit about that?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I am crazy.
You are crazy.
So
When I read this thing on Twitter, I was like, I don't know how this guy does it.
I am very very crazy. So what I did is as I realized that there are 6 months left in the year, and like uh, when we are building products, right? So we're just talking about building products. When you build products, you don't know whether like it's something that people want or not. The biggest challenge of building a product is basically that you'll build something and nobody will want it or nobody will pay money for it, right? And you'll waste all your energy and time doing it. So and I didn't want to play that. I realized I don't want to play that guessing game. That that I will build it and then I'll try to sell it and market it and then people will come and buy it. I thought that I'll first sell it and then if people buy it, then I'll build it. Right. That was where, and then I realized that there are 25 weeks left, 25 work weeks, quote unquote work weeks left in there. I want to have like a few weeks in December off as well to just take rest. So I thought that 25 weeks are left, and I'm a writer. I'm good at like making info products quickly. I don't want to build like something very big, because with info products also the thing is that people want instant people want instant results, or they want a very small specific niche thing, and they can go beyond it. Don't want something very elaborate or something very big that they have to consume. There are already like too many large courses out there. If people would rather prefer something very short, specific, that they can just instantly solve a problem and move on from. So I thought, okay, I'll launch. So I announced it on Twitter that I'm going to launch one product every week for the next 25 weeks, and I'm going to first write the landing page and try to sell the product. And if enough people buy it, then I'll actually go and build it. So I did the challenge. I think at the time of recording, we are 3 weeks in, 3 products down. Today is a Wednesday. I'm going to launch like the fourth one later today, and it's crazy. If anybody's listening to this over the next 20 weeks or so, and if it's a Wednesday, you can come onto my Twitter profile and I'll probably be launching something on that day. But
That's incredible.
the good part is that I get to first I get to learn a lot, like when I'm writing those landing pages and I'm thinking of those products and designing those products, like what will people get from this, why will people pay for this. I'm continuously asking these questions to myself, and it's a hit and a miss. So with 3 products so far, 2 have done all right, the third one didn't do as well. uh, I realized I was way off. Like I thought that this will do really well, but it did not do well at all. So that's a good wake up call, right? We all have ideas in our head, but are those ideas valuable, right? Are people interested in those ideas? Uh, so that learning I'm getting, and I'm getting it really fast. Every week I have to launch and sell, and also build a small product. So the learning experience is very good. I've just like put it into hyperdrive, and it's intense, it's tiring, and it's frustrating, especially when you launch something and nobody buys, nobody pays for it. It's really really frustrating. But this is like exposure therapy for me. Like I want to get rid of this fear of launching and not getting paid. Right, it's okay if nobody pays. I have something to look forward to next week. Right, I'll launch something else next week. Right, I keep telling myself this, that it's okay if this bomb. Like the first time I launched something, for first week, when I launched a Mastermind Program, and I launched it, and for 9 hours nobody paid, and I was frustrated, and I was about to delete the product itself. This is crap experiment. I should not be doing it. But then somebody paid, like one person paid and got it, and then another person paid, another person. Eventually, like 12 people paid. I had to shut it down. that you know that I'm not going to cannot do this program with more people right now. I can only do it with 12 people. So that was good. That whole experience of going through the stress that nobody's buying, and then the elation that okay, people are buying, and then the pressure of again like trying to sell something. When you're on the when you have fire under your fire under your back, and you can go out and do a lot of stuff which you would not have done otherwise. So I think having a deadline like this and having an intense challenge, I'm pushing my boundaries and trying to push my boundaries at least, and trying to learn as much as I can about like customer psychology and about buying behavior and value. Right, value is a very subjective term. Like what people find value in is interesting.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. What you're talking about kind of reminds me. I don't know if you've heard of Jim Collins in the books he's written, but he has this principle called shoot bullets, then fire cannonballs, and it's basically what you're talking about is, and what we have been talking about is not hedging all your bets into one basket, but
Yes.
rather trying lots of little things, and then
Yes.
when you find something works, just saying, okay, I'm going full steam ahead with this.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
makes perfect sense. About your 25 and 25 challenge. And one
Yeah.
thing that occurred to me, I mean, you got all these products that you're releasing every Wednesday. Now, what if like
Yes.
more than 10 of them takes off and becomes super successful? Are you not going to have a problem where you have to manage 10 of these different products? Would you keep them going, or would you shut them down, or would you
Yes.
employ someone to manage them for you, or is that not necessary?
Yes. I will love to have that problem. First, I love to have that problem. I don't think that like so many of them will take off. Our usual hit rate is like 5%, 5% success rate. When you build 100 things, like five of them succeed. Uh, is my understanding. But the way I see it is that I have purposefully kept the scope very limited. Like most of them are either info products or database curation type products, or service products, like where I can basically rent my time the benefit is that even with service products, I can control the clients that I have. I can say no to a bunch of people if I'm not uh, if I don't want to work for them. Like with my ghostwriting, I'm very selective of who I work with. Right. I'm not, because I'm not looking to make a lot of money. Right. I can choose who I want to work with and not work with. So a lot of these 25 are going to be service products. And then info with the thing with the info products is that you build them once and it's done. Right. And then even with curation and databases, I don't want to deal with customer service questions or like doing support work. So that's why I'm not going with software products. My idea is that even for a SaaS or a software product, uh, from the 25 things that do the few things that do well, I can leverage them to launch a software product or later on sometime next year. Yeah, another category which I have is no code. So I have like a fair understanding of no code. I am not an expert at Bubble or Webflow, but like other tools like software and Airtable, I'm uh, quite all right with them. So there are probably going to be like two or three no code based projects as well, but not any software projects, because software projects require a lot of manual effort uh, uh, in the beginning. So that I'm basically postponing for next year. In 2023 probably I'll launch a software product, but not right now. So purposefully I've kept the scope to be very limited for this challenge.
Yeah, and I think it's
For these
good
25
to give
products.
yourself a like an expiry date for a challenge, especially something like this. Because I mean, imagine you
Yes.
said, "I will release a product every week," and then just put no expiry date on it,
Forever.
you'd be in a bit of trouble. Like
Yes, a
I've
lot
given
of trouble.
myself for this podcast, I've given myself a set amount of episodes that I'll release before I
Yes,
come and reassess it to see if it's still something that I want to do.
yes,
You touched on
yes,
this thing called Nocode. Now, this is really funny. I had a guy
yes,
message me the other day, and he's like, Ross, you told me about this thing called Notion a while ago. Why didn't you convince me harder about how amazing it is? Because he just
yes,
discovered it, and I'd been telling him about him for ages, and now he's like blown away about it.
yes,
And I must say, my relationship with Nocode was a bit different because at first I was like, hold on, I'm a programmer. I know all these different languages. Why do I need this? Psh, I don't need this. And I was almost a
yes,
bit threatened.
yes,
I'm like, here's this thing coming to like replace me. But I think no code is actually a very valuable tool for people like
yes,
yourself and myself that are creators.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
could you tell me a bit more about no code and perhaps maybe about how you're using it to maybe like what are some of the tools and programs that you use to run your creator economy? So, I mean, just to give people further
Sure, sure.
context, you have a newsletter, you have a website, and then you have all these different
Yes,
products.
yes,
You mentioned that
yes,
you
yes,
do use Notion. So, what does your
yes.
no code stack look like, and how are you using these tools?
Right. So again, Notion is one of my favorite products ever, just because it's so simple and of course you can do a lot of it. It can get very complex. Like people get very complex with it. But I keep it very simple, like just to manage my work, my write my content, take notes, stuff like that. My blog lives on Notion. I use a no-code tool, like a no-code website builder called Feather. It's made by my friend Bhanu, and so that basically I write content in Notion, and it immediately gets published on my blog, on my site. Again, another no-code, like many. So I really love a no-code product called Softer, which is softr.io, software.io. It's basically a website builder that you can take any database and use Airtable, and spin up a website within minutes. Like in less than an hour, I've been able to create good like database based websites. So stuff like marketplaces or curated so websites like Nomad List, for example, right, by Peter Levels. It's a highly successful website, or
Hmm.
something like Product Hunt. Those kinds of curation based websites or marketplaces you can instantly build with a combination of software and Airtable, both of which are again like no-code tools which I really love. Another one is of course Card is an amazing website builder that I use. I used it for my ghostwriting service where I created a landing page for it. It is called Tweet for Me, and I spent like good 4 or 5 days trying to design and work and make that landing page in Card. Card is the spelling, and like as soon as I launched it, like within 24 hours, I had $1,000 client. Right. So the tool paid for itself within minutes. Uh, right. That is the power. I'm not, without writing any code, I was able to spin up a beautiful landing page and get somebody to pay for my skills. Right. Within 24 hours. That's the beauty of no code. Another no-code tool which I really love is a tool called Tally, which is basically a form builder, a replacement for Google Forms, but it's very Notion-inspired form builder. So they have like a lot of commands like Notion, and you get a lot of control, and it's beautiful forms basically. And I use forms a lot in my newsletter on Twitter. I publish forms and I collect data. I collect people's feedback, or collect their interest, whether they want, across and their interest in products and services. So I use Tally forms a lot as well, and love the flexibility that I get with them.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
think no code is really incredible, and I mean, I'm
yeah,
traditionally a web developer, so I mean, when it comes
yeah,
to those languages, I'm more than efficient. But now I find myself appreciating tools like Webflow. There's another tool for WordPress called Elementor. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's absolutely
Yes, yes, yes.
phenomenal that you can, what
I
used to
know.
take me like 2 weeks to do in pure HTML,
Yes,
CSS, and PHP, I can now do in an afternoon with Elementor. And I think
right. I
that's
know.
the value of no code, is that it
Yes.
maybe it's replacing some people, perhaps, but I just think that's
Oh,
the world we live in.
sure.
But it
Sure,
also
sure. They'll find
speeds.
other jobs. Like, yeah, yeah. There'll be other more interesting stuff to do. And also, like with no code, I think of it. It's like a spectrum, right? Even with code, like nobody today writes pure JavaScript, right? Everybody uses some JavaScript framework, right? It's React, it's Node, it's something that you use to set up your set up your web app. Uh, that basically handles the plumbing of the application, or so every language has frameworks built on top of it, right? Which means that developers don't have to write a lot of native code or a lot of basic repeatable code in their applications. And I look at no code to be on that spectrum, that when you want to build a web app, you can use Bubble, and you will not have to write write JavaScript code, but you will have to follow Bubble's templates or their language of building their building blocks, basically, right? So I look at it as a continuum, where on one very far end is like writing every piece of code by hand and not using any frameworks at all. Then there are like frameworks that you use to spin up apps quickly, and then there are simple no code tools that can build websites, like something like Card, which you can have custom CSS and build a simple website, and Elementor, as you said. And then there are more complex no code tools like Bubble. And there's of course like full blown coded applications that people can build. But it's all a spectrum. The main thing is that the product has to be good, the website has to be good. The user doesn't care about the backend. Like whatever is the backend doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I
Right.
mean, us software developers especially are so good at kind of getting into the weeds and arguing over what's better, React or Vue, or
Yes.
at the end of the day,
Yes.
you said it, the customer doesn't care. And I think that's the power of no
Yes.
code, is that you can fail faster, so you can figure out what the customer wants
Yes.
faster, and you can get that
Exactly.
thing out there quicker, easier, and as you're doing your
Yes.
25 and 25 challenge, really figure out
Yes.
what the
Yes.
customer wants. I mean, I think when I think about Nomad List, I'm also a massive fan of Peter Level's, and
Yes.
he started Nomad List off as a Google Sheet, if I'm not mistaken. I think
I
it was
know.
a yeah, it was a
Yes.
Google
Yes.
form and a Google
I
Sheet,
have
and
that
now
tweet saved.
yeah, no, it's incredible. I absolutely love that guy and the work he's putting out, and just his
Yes.
character. He's such an awesome guy.
Yes.
Let's take
Yes.
a bit of a fork in the road here and talk about your
Yeah.
other. I'm not sure it's one of your products, but Mastermind Program. What is the Mastermind Program?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was one of the first things that I launched in the 25 and 25 challenge. It's basically, so I realized one thing, that funded startups, like VC funded startups, and founders who go for funding have a big support network for themselves, right? They have like venture capitalists, they have mentors, they have people coming in and giving them advice about what's working, what's not working. They have teams, they have people on their board who are always in their ear about their business, about their product. But like solo founders, bootstrap founders, creators, solopreneurs like me don't have a support network. Like of course there's the indie hackers community, there's a community on Twitter, like maker creator community on Twitter, that's very supportive. But it's very low touch. Whatever advice you get is very not actionable, not customized to you. Basically it's very generic advice. That's when I discovered the idea of masterminds, which are basically small groups of people who come together and to brainstorm and to honestly talk to each other about their work. This was first actually conceptualized by Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich back in like the 1930s. And he coined the term like the mastermind principle, and this this became and recently I think the YouTuber Mr. Beast. He talked about it as well on the Joe Rogan podcast, where he said that he formed a mastermind with his like YouTuber buddies, like 4 or 5 people, who would meet every day and talk about the YouTube algorithm and how to get better at producing videos and getting more likes and stuff like that and more views. And they met every day for 1,000 days in a row, right? And every person in that mastermind has more than a million more than a million subscribers now. So that is the power of mastermind groups, that focus, dedicated effort together in a tight group of people, all with similar goals, can give to each other. So that's when I thought that there should be a mastermind group for solo founders, bootstrap founders, creators, solopreneurs, either who are building SaaS companies, SaaS startups, micro SaaS kind of thing, or they're building content products and content, or doing freelancing or agency work. Basically 2 or 3 broad categories of bootstrap founders is how I started it, and I launched it. So it's very small. I haven't launched it another time yet. We're still going through. So every week we meet. So there are 12 people. We are divided in 4 groups of each. 3 groups basically with 4 people each. And every week the small group of 4 will meet. They'll talk about their wins and losses from last week. One person will have a hot seat. So the hot seat is basically where you have complete undivided attention of the group, and you can talk about any problems, challenges that you have face in your business, and you can get honest feedback and advice from other people, some of whom may be a couple of steps ahead in your journey, or just parallel in your journey, and they can you can brainstorm basically new ideas or challenge or solutions to existing challenges. So those hot seats have historically proven to be really useful, and with my small little experiment, people have really enjoyed doing the hot seats and sharing lessons with each other. So that's basically the mastermind program. There's a sense of accountability, there's a sense of support with each other. We note down everyone's goals every week, and we track whether we're finishing those goals next week or not. So the simple things that keep you on track towards your larger ambition of building a solo bootstrap business, sustainable business. So it's called the Indie Masterminds Program, basically independent businesses.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. I love that. It kind of reminds me of that phrase, "You are the average of your 5 best friends." I don't know if you've heard
Yes, exactly. Yes, yes. It's
So
there on the
love
landing
that.
page.
Oh, okay. So speaking of the landing page, if someone wants to join this program, what do they need to know, and
Yeah.
where can they how can they get involved in the mastermind program?
Yeah, for sure. So it's so right now I've stopped doing I've stopped. I'm not taking sales. I'll launch it again in a couple of weeks so I'm doing it monthly. So right now the July masterminds are going on. I'll open registrations again for the August masterminds, and I'll basically announce it on Twitter, on my newsletters, everywhere. Right now, people can join the waitlist. Basically, just to let me know that you're interested. So I'll inform the people on the waitlist first. There will always be limited groups and limited registrations because the nature of the product is such that it's not very highly scalable. So right now I'm doing 3 groups. If there is interest, next month I might do like 5 groups. With 20 people, or maybe 6 group with 24 people, but not more than that. So I have a bunch of people on the wait list already, and I'm going to start reaching out to them from next week and ask them to register. So basically, just follow me on Twitter, or subscribe to a newsletter, or you can join the waitlist from the landing page of the Mastermind program as well. So there is a form that you need to fill, and whoever's listening, I'll reach out and when I'm ready, and that's how I think it is going to be every month. So in August, I'll run the August masterminds next month. and then uh, basically in the last week or the last couple of weeks of a month, I'll start promoting and taking in new registrations.
Okay.
It
And
is
so it
ongoing.
seems that's fantastic. It seems like you have a lot of systems and methods in place to keep the quality of people and
Yes,
their very high
yes,
quality and make sure everyone is committed. I think I read
yes,
on your Twitter, you said that one of the reasons why you want people to pay, I mean, obviously you want to put food on your table, but one of the reasons you want people to pay is that
yes,
ensures that there's constantly a high quality of people in the
yes,
mastermind and people want to be there.
yes.
I think that's really fascinating. So now, assume
Yeah.
there's someone listening to this podcast and they're like, "Shucks, Ayush Ross, I would love to quit my job and do what you guys are doing because I'm also quitting my job. I'm going to be
Yes,
doing quite a lot of
yes.
consulting myself.
Awesome, awesome.
But like, okay, someone's listening and they want to do what you've done. They want to quit your job and get into the creator economy. What is the first piece of
Yes.
advice you'd give them?
Figure out your core skill. I think everyone should know what their hardcore skill is that they can always fall back on. Right? Because it's not going to be easy. Revenue takes making money online is hard. Whatever the gurus will tell you, making money online is not easy. It takes a lot of effort. Build a skill. For me, that was writing, that was copywriting, with just something I knew. I can always like go to Upwork and find clients for it. Like, thankfully, touch wood, I haven't had to do it. But like, go to Upwork and Fiverr. I think one of the interesting ideas is to go on Upwork and Fiverr and figure out like what services or what skills are being paid the most. Right, what people are paying the most for. I recently saw a gig posted for a TikTok or Reels creator. So making short form video is a niche skill. So like, figure out your niche skill. Either it's writing, it's no code, it's code, it's video content creation. Some skill that you can always make some freelancing or consulting income from. Right, once you have that figured out, and you're starting, because freelancing and consulting is a good way to generate initial income and make money, uh, and even and have cash flow coming in, because you never want to be at a stage where you don't have like good backup or good money in your account. You always need some financial backing if you want to be. The whole game of entrepreneurship is basically about staying in the game long enough. Right, you should once you quit your job, your number one goal should be to not go back to your job. Right, everything that you do from that day onwards has to in some way support your goal of not going back to a job. So like, having consulting, freelancing, service based business income coming in is a good way to stay in the game. And with that, in parallel, you can start creating products, either software products or info products. I think Naval Ravikant has a great quote, right? Code or media, two things scale infinitely on the internet. So you want to have these two ways of like, your skill should fall into these two buckets. It should either be something related to code, where you can build software products, or it should be something related to media, where you can create content and make content. uh, that's how you can leverage the internet, because once you create something, it's there infinitely. So yeah, figure out your core skill, niche skill, start getting some cash flow going through service work, and then start building products for yourself that you can go out and sell.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
the if what we're trying to achieve here is freedom from being in a set place, because I mean, there's nothing more frustrating than looking at your watch at like 5:30, knowing that you need to leave work at 6,
Yes.
and you're like, why am I being
Yes.
paid to do this? I'm finished my work. This is so
Exactly.
silly.
Yes.
It's so frustrating. So what we're trying to achieve here is freedom from being tied to a place, and one of the best ways to do that is to sell a product, because
Yes.
not now we're not selling our time, we're making money while we
Yes.
sleep, and that's the goal there is to. So just to recap on what you said, we want to create cash flow through a service, maybe build up a bit of a
Yes.
buffer and then create a
Yes.
product so we're fully autonomous. Just on the whole thing of
Yes.
finances, what
Yes.
kind of financial buffer did you have before you quit your job? Just to give people an
I
idea, because I know
have
it was.
sure. So I had like 24 months of savings, 24 months of runway when I quit last year. And I started with only with service businesses, only consulting and freelancing, uh, which was again good cash flow. So I kept increasing my runway. It went up till like 29, 30 months. And that's when I thought that, okay, this is too much. Like, I don't need to do, like, I can start building products and, take my shot at my own business. Right now, it's somewhere around 18, 20 months, I think.
Hmm.
So I track it, and I have an Excel sheet where I track. Uh, I did a bit of financial homework before quitting. Like I figured out my expenses, how much I'll need to make to just survive every month. I have some savings, investments, like mutual funds and stuff that are going that go in automatically. So yeah, I think I would say like anywhere from 1 to 2 years of savings is good enough for people to start out.
Okay, and then obviously, I think I heard you mentioned somewhere else. I think it was in that blog post, getting rid of all sorts of debt and stuff, just to
Yes,
make sure
yes,
that
yes.
you
That's
absolutely,
essential. Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
I think get rid of any expensive debt that you might have, like car loans and credit card loans. I still have a home mortgage that
Hmm.
will, I think, in a few years, 3 or 4 years, it'll be paid off. I I am yeah, I think that is the only debt that I have, because debt can get very very risky very quickly
Hmm.
for people. You
Yeah,
shouldn't have it.
nothing worse than having a debt collector at your door when you having a difficult
Yes.
month. So, Ayush, I
Yes.
wanna
Exactly.
start wrapping up. Now,
Yeah.
suppose there's someone listening. What are some resources, some other creators out there that they could listen to give them a better idea of um, how to get into the creator economy? What are some podcasts, some books, or some YouTube channels that you find useful?
For sure. For sure. So am a big fan of the Indie Hackers podcast. I think people should definitely listen to it. It's very inspirational. Uh, great stories, like solo founder stories, people who have done great things. I think on YouTube, on Twitter especially, I follow many people. There's a whole like community of people who are doing this. Uh, you know, I think people should definitely follow people like Arvid Kahl, Daniel Vassallo. You should follow somebody like Kevon Chung. There are so many. Like once you start following two or three people, you'll start getting recommendations of other people to follow. So on Twitter, there's a beautiful community that you should be there, be a member of. On YouTube, I think uh, I really love what Ali Abdal is doing these days,
Hmm.
but I think he has crossed that threshold of like he has become like a big guy, like a big business.
Hmm. I think he
Uh,
employs like 30
not
people now.
Yeah, exactly. But he started like very scrappy when he
Yeah.
was a doctor, and he used to make videos back then. So I love like watching his old videos and his story of how he has grown as a creator. I think it's very inspirational, but it's always good to remind yourself that that kind of success is like one in a million, right? But you don't need that kind of success as well in life.
Yeah.
If you don't have a lot of needs, if you can control your expenses, you can do okay with average success as well. But he's really good for inspiration. I really find him very very inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that's a question that people probably need to answer is, do I want to be a solopreneur? Do I want to lead people? Do I want to be in the spotlight? And do I want to create things or manage things? And I think those are all very important
Yes.
questions to understand before you
Yes.
take the plunge
Yes.
into
Yes.
being a solopreneur.
Yes.
Because I mean, if you
Yes.
want to be in the spotlight and manage people, then maybe being a creator or a solopreneur is not the best job for you. Maybe you should stay in
Probably,
the
probably.
corporate world, where that's more likely to
Yes.
happen.
And become a general manager or something,
Exactly,
or a
exactly.
CEO someday.
Yeah.
Right,
So I mean,
right.
yeah, let's bring this thing to a wrap. Ayush, thank you so
Yeah,
much
sure,
for
sure,
coming onto the show, and I've really
sure,
enjoyed
sure.
talking to you. I'm gonna stick
Awesome,
as
awesome.
much of the things that we spoke about in the show notes, so anyone listening can
For sure,
find those links, so
for
they
sure.
can find the link to your 25 and 25 program, your mastermind program, your website. You've got an email newsletter, and you're
Yes,
prolific
yes,
on Twitter, and that's actually where I first found you.
yes,
And I love the stuff you put out. It's
yes.
very inspiring, educational, and just yeah, it's
Awesome,
just fun to follow you. So I'm gonna put
awesome,
that all in the show notes so
awesome,
people
awesome,
can find you.
awesome,
But Ayush, thank you so much.
awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me, Ross. It was a fun conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. Awesome.